No intro, no funny business today, right? This is a serious topic that I do not take lightly. And this is why you should be reading books in 2026 and why I'm going to be begging you to read a book. So, just allow me this little bit of time to try to change your mind, all right? Hear me out. So, like, book reading books is boring, especially compared to like all of the other stuff that you could be doing in 2026. You could be gooning in VR. Um, you could be scrolling on TikTok or Instagram Reels for hours, or watching uh, YouTube videos, or getting baked and binge watching Game of Thrones, right? Like, reading books is boring, but um like nowadays, people are getting pretty dumb. It's literally like the science is showing that apparently like 40% of Americans cannot read above a sixth grade level. And I'm pretty sure I was in that statistic like not too long ago, if I'm being honest. But um, this is problematic, bro, because like basically what I'm trying to say is that people are just drones now. And the reason why they are drones is because now there is a simple path to everything in life, right? Like if you're bored, um, pull out your phone. If you're sad, smoke weed. If you get the point what I'm trying to say. And by a lot of people are hooked on this short path, constantly taking the easy way out. And that's a problem because you lose a lot of stuff when you do that. Um, and basically what you lose is like you, bro. You lose your personality, you lose who you are. And by constantly consuming all day long and being plugged into something, you never stop and take a moment to think or process your emotions, or um, come up with original ideas. And even if you do have time now, even if you do have some downtime in your day, uh, people are losing their ability to cognitively think, to focus, to follow trains of thought. And so now, you can't even think anymore whenever you have some free time, because our cognitive abilities as a society are literally like decreasing because of the way that things are now. Literally, the science is showing this. And I think that it is super important to fight back against this, man. Like, fight back what is being taken from us, which is ourselves, like our personality and our attention. Um, because, if we have a generation of drones in the future, our society is going to be cooked. Um, I learned like I was watching a video about this not too long ago, and the dude in the video was spitting some facts, man. He was like talking about the American literacy crisis, and he was like, you know, our society is built on a bunch of complex, like multi-layered problems and ideas that were only invented because people knew how to read. Like our founding fathers literally were only able to create the democracy that we live under today because they were so well read. And yeah, so there is, the side of our society being cooked because people are losing their ability to cognitively think, And there's also, as I was talking about earlier, like a personal side to this too, because, when you're constantly plugged in and being fed stuff all day long, um, you start to get your personality and your thoughts and even your feelings formed by something else, not by yourself. And, I think that the world kind of exists in this way. There's like chaos and order, right? And society as it is like mostly chaos, and order has just, it's this thing that is being neglected right now. Um, and, we need to start reclaiming this, bro. And the best possible way, the way that I view it to reclaim this, like to reclaim your attention, to reclaim your personality, are books, dude. Reading a book. And look, I get it. Reading books is boring, and it was very boring for me at first too. And reading books is still boring because, like I said, there's my brain knows that there's still a million different things I could be doing instead of reading. But um, if you can just start trying to get yourself in the habit of at least reading a little bit today, um, or sorry, not a little bit today, but just a little bit every day. Um, at least what this has done in my experience is, first of all, reading gives me a healthy way to escape because, like, humans do at the end of the day need to consume. Like we need to be consuming things. And the problem is like a lot of the things we consume now are junk, but reading is one of those things that you can consume that is like actually not junk for you. Um, so it's a healthy escape. First of all, um, reading, as I was saying before, helps you. It helps your cognitive abilities, bro. Like after reading for even just a couple of weeks, like I started to notice actual profound changes in the way in which I was like thinking, bro. Like it kind of felt like the blur of life was starting to come into focus just a little bit more. And like the thoughts inside of my head, like I was able to follow trains of thoughts uh for longer. I was able to think up of original ideas in my brain because it kind of helped me to, like when you're reading, like you're focused on one thing, um, and you're like formulating sentences inside of your head, which translates to thinking. Like it helps you to think clearer thoughts, and it helps you to kind of hear your own thinking better, if that makes sense. And also, you know, I have had ADHD for like my entire life, and I've always felt like, um, you know, when I was talking about hearing your thoughts, like I can always like hear my thoughts, but they're just kind of like, for the longest time, like random and sporadic, bro. Like I was never able to like chain them together. Like they would just kind of pop up here and there and boom, boom, boom. But once I started reading, and I could still hear the thoughts, but like they were starting to become more like tangible inside of my head, if that makes sense. Um, and it's just it's a good, also reading is a good way to just disconnect again, as I've been saying, from all of the brain rot, all of the short form content, all of the um, algorithmic based platforms, which are essentially the root of all the problems I've been talking about, at least in our society. And another thing that reading books does too, and I haven't really been able to notice this a whole lot, but like maybe a little bit, just because I haven't read many stories. But like once you start reading stories, right? Um, those stories, especially the classics, bro. This is whenever I really started to level up. Is like whenever I started delving in the classics. Like the stories, they're classics because they speak to us on a human level. Like stories are told to relate to the human condition. And so like, when you start learning about how the human condition is, how it works, and like how people act and how people think and and all that, like it really does also help you to, first of all, like step back and zoom out and be like, yo, the people 1,000 years ago, have been thinking the same way and going through the same problems that I have been going to as well. So it kind of like, it's like reassurance in a way. And, when you start to learn about like how the human condition works, and patterns of how humans have been acting, it makes it easier to recognize those patterns and conditions in your own life, and then therefore enabling you to kind of avoid certain traps or certain people or certain negative ways of doing things, I guess. So yeah, but back to like the cognitive benefits, I think that is just the main pro of it, is like when you start reading, you can really feel the impact that it has on your thinking. And I can't really describe this or stress this anymore because it is just kind of that, one of those things where you have to try it for yourself. So I'm just begging you guys to start reading, like pick up a book. I think that this is, the world is very crazy right now. A lot of crazy things are happening, and a lot of bad things are happening. And I think that if we are to prevail, we need to be reclaiming our minds. You know what I mean? I think that we can win the war over, these evil companies trying to steal our attention, and now all these evil politics. Like I think that we can prevail, but it's just going to take more people that are willing to wake up, and really make an effort to try to be different. And yeah, so I don't know, just start reading, man. This is just a little yap. I just want to get on here and yap about this because I'm passionate about it. Start reading the books, please. I'm begging you. One book. And all right, one more thing before I leave off is like, you might ask, okay, all right, fine. All right, I'm gonna listen to you. I'll read a book, but where the fuck do I even start? And to that I say, bro, start anywhere. You don't have to read a certain type of genre or like self help or anything. I think just so long as you are reading something like that, you are doing right, and reading something consistently, right? Um, and I think if you start doing that, things will start to become much clearer for you. And obviously, okay, so if you need, this is kind of counterintuitive to what I was saying. I learned this from somebody else too, but if you need like book recommendations, Chat GPT is actually a really good way to do that. You can just kind of ask, think of something you might be interested, a genre or whatever, and then ask ChatGPT for books in that genre, and then you can kind of then take those recommendations and do research on them and see if it's any good or not. And like I said, I know that's kind of counterintuitive because I was talking about you know evil corporations and brain rot, but I'm not like entirely against that stuff. And I think that tools like AI have their place, but like I said, I think that it's becoming, you know, it's becoming something uh, that people are over consuming and overusing and over relying on because it's just like the easier thing to do. And our brains love to do the easier thing, but that comes, as I was saying, that comes at a cost. And it takes a lot of introspection, a lot of thinking to become aware of what those costs are. And like, I'm not saying like, I'm not, by the way, I'm not trying to like speak from a place of higher knowledge or anything like that. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to basically say like, reading has helped me out a lot in my life. And so, it's something that I want other people to start hopping onto, bro, especially the youth generation, in a generation where we are seeing cognitive decline, increased rates of stress and sadness and loneliness and, decreased, I don't know, I think I already said this, cognitive ability. And, we're having a literacy crisis now. And it seems like things are, looking pretty hopeless. But I think that this is one of the ways that we can kind of start taking it back as a generation, bro. We got to rise up. We got to be strong. We got to become scholars, bro. This is why I am John Scholar. But yeah, um, thank you for listening to me. I hope you guys pick up a book after this. Peace out. And please subscribe if you found this video entertaining, bro.